Hello, good afternoon, and welcome to the Power Boost meditation. This is Saurabh, based in Indianapolis. The thought today to meditate on and experience the power was the observing self. The observing self. Generally, we tend to be in a thinking mode, so we call it the thinking self. So we'll think about the story that we are in. We'll think about my role. We'll think about various things. And what happens is when I think about something, and that takes up what I'm feeling, what my reality is in that moment. And so observing self is where I begin to create a distance from my thoughts and just observe. This ability we all have. For instance, if I go out with my friends, I go out, I'm sitting with them in a restaurant, for example, and I'm talking to them and everything is nice. I'm spending a nice time with them. And suddenly I hear a sound coming from somewhere. And suddenly my attention is drawn towards that. And then in that moment, when my attention is drawn towards that, then whatever I was talking with my friends, that complete spotlight is shifted. And now my reality is just that voice and that person that is creating that voice, that noise. And so my reality completely shifted based on where I channelized my attention. And so in meditation, the observing self is, even though I am thinking, I am playing the role, but I gently shift my attention. I begin to observe the eternal perspective. I begin to observe the sky above the clouds of various thoughts coming and going in various forms. I still know that there are clouds. I still know that there are thoughts. But then I choose to observe the sky, the unlimited. So I take my attention beyond. And this observation shifts my reality. I'm suddenly aware of the eternal dimension. I'm aware of myself as that beautiful, tiny point of light. I'm aware of our eternal family, and I'm aware of the divine in a very natural way. There's no effort, but in a very natural way. Even if I am on the stage, I'm experiencing the sky. And so this power of observation, it's actually very powerful. In science, we have quantum physics. And in quantum physics, there is a very nice experiment. They call it the double slit experiment. Many of us may have heard about it. What it tells is the electrons, or the smallest unit of matter, we call it atoms and then electrons, when they are allowed to pass through two slits, they behave in a certain way. They behave as waves. But the moment we begin to observe them, their nature changes and they're no longer waves, but they change to being a particle. And so the very act of observing transforms the nature of light. And this is a very powerful message that nature is giving us, is like the moment I pause and observe, it transforms my thoughts. It transforms my reality. So no longer a wave or just a wandering reality, but just this point of light. So I begin to transform by observing. And so the more I develop this muscle of observing my reality in my dimension beyond, the more I begin to experience. And then meditation becomes a very natural process. So right now, as we are in the middle of our day, we already have had a lot of experiences and thoughts in this day. Let us just step back and we just give this time for ourselves, these few minutes. As I just look within, as there are a lot of thoughts about the drama, the story, thoughts about what I have done or I have to do. All of that is completely fine. I just realized that this life right now, the stage, there's a story being enacted. And I am a point of light, a soul, seated within this costume and enacting the story of life. I am that actor. I realize that there is this story on stage, but there is another dimension off stage. And that dimension is the dimension of silence, where there is no story, where there is no activity, but there is just silence. I just choose to observe. I become conscious of that reality. So there is this world of the story, and then there's the world of the soul. And I just shift my observation to begin to observe and zoom in to the world of the soul. These tiny points of light that only know how to love, that only know how to give, that are the most beautiful and innocent beings in this world. These souls are extremely lovely. They're completely pure and they're completely loved. Theirs is a family of these higher beings. Their mind knows peace. Their heart knows love. Their whole being is this beautiful celebration of every moment. And this entire family is godlike. They experience the mind of God because they are the children of God. It is very normal and natural for them to be in this state. The world of the story that is down below, they know it's a stage, it's temporary, it's there, it's changing every second. And these beings of light are extremely wise because they know that there's no point in creating any attachments in the story. They go into the story, they enjoy the story, they watch the story, but they also know that there is an exit and then they come out of the story. And this whole dimension, as if it's a sky beyond the sky. And all these tiny little beings we are held together in the presence of the divine. The divine, the most beautiful and unconditional source of love, of light. So we just experience being held in the presence of the divine. The vibrations of being in the presence, the experience, the heart, the mind, the presence of the divine. A love that goes so deep into the heart that it transforms, it heals. A presence that is so familiar. The divine knows me personally, and I know the divine and feel the divine personally. My mind just rests on the divine. I observe the ultimate observer, the divine, the one who is beyond the drama of life in a real way, who stays beyond, detached and loving. The one who observes everything. I observe the divine. And I allow myself to be observed by the divine. And in this experience, I transform. And as I'm led back to play my role in the story, let me just zoom in to the stage, to the costume, and to the task that I'm about to do now. this sense of this experience of the real dimension. I move back with silence and step into the role that I'm about to play. Om Shanti. Thank you.